fortune tellers because I'm assuming it's especially those that foretold her death. This must be she went to a fortune teller and they told her she was going to die.
She was like,
and she was mad.
She was like, "Oh no, I'm not."
There were 535 bills of indictment were drawn up after she wrote this. So, like, they indicted, 535 people, and 82 people were executed for fortune-telling, basically, after this. 82. Between 1560 and 1680, in Chelmsford, of the 291 witches tried, only 23 were men.
Of course.
Right. And in 1607, 41 people were executed for witchcraft in this area. So, I mean, it was kind of like sporadic, and it would go in spurts, and it would spread. And a lot of it was money-making. I'll talk about that in a minute. And we're going to the Pendle witches. This was also in England. We're still in England here. 1612 in Lancashire. I think I'm saying it right. An 80-year-old, blind, disfigured old woman. Her name was Elizabeth Southern. People referred to her as Old Demdike. She was said to be a witch. And she admitted it, that she'd been a witch since 1560.
Good for her.
And said that she persuaded her friend Anne Whittle, who was known as Old Chaddix. So we have Old Demdike and Old Chaddix. Yeah. I put this story here just because the names were really funny. Many of their family members were also accused. So basically, they bring these women in and they starve them until they confess, "Oh yeah, it was my friend. Oh yeah, it was my daughter too, and her and my sister and my cousin, and the whole family was accused. She ended up. But I mean, she's older. She's probably senile. She's 80.
Old Demdike doesn't know what's going on.
No, probably. She's 80. Come on.
Which is a million years old back then.
Oh, for sure. In the 1600s? She
probably's got dementia.
She probably was on death's door at this point. She kind of was, because she died in jail. 10 others were hanged, including Old Chaddix, and 2 were sentenced to a year in jail. So, just this little, some little kid was scared of her because she's probably old and looks like a skeleton, because she's probably ancient and haggard and poor. Mm-hmm. And she's a witch.
Here's the thing.
Sure, I am, honey.
Here's the thing, though. They always like to say witches are ugly, but really we're beautiful.
We really are.
So jokes on them, right?
At this time, there were quite a few accusations that were proven false. People recanted, but it didn't matter. They're dead anyway now.
We can't bring them back to life.
Right.
So.
One man said that a witch's curse made him pee black urine. And it turned out it was a piece of cotton soaked in ink tucked into his foreskin that he would squeeze when he would pee to make his pee black.
What a disgusting person.
Just to say, this woman's how awful are you as a person?
First of all, what made you even think of that, sir?
Yes!
Keep your foreskin to yourself.
And clean. Don't shove stuff up in there.
I hope you got a horrible yeast infection of some sort.
Ink and a black pee-pee. A black peen. Your peen's black. Who would have seen it, though, then? They probably kept everything covered up real nice and tight.
I don't know, but I don't like it.
I don't like it either. It was horrible. They also, a lot of this was because money was offered to people who accused, every witch was turned in, they'd give money for it.
Oh, well, that's even more motivation just to accuse people.
A lot of it was because the noblemen in the area, if somebody was accused of a witch, they had to seize all their property.
Oh, so they get some more stuff.
Yeah. So we'll give you 3 pence, and they'll get their all this
everything
person's earnings and their house and their property and all of that, if they had any, Accused people were examined for devil's marks by the witch mark finders. Mm-hmm. They were people that checked them.
That was their job.
Yes.
I checked for witch marks.
Yep. Devil's marks could be blemishes, tattoos, birthmarks, or scars, and that did not bleed when they were pricked with a pin or a knife. So if they poked you,
and you didn't bleed,
in this mark, it could be a birthmark, anything, and if it didn't bleed, then you were a witch. But you poke anybody, especially a mole, is going to bleed and not stop, right? Mm-hmm. On men, these marks were found.
Oh, God.
In the armpit, on the lips, the shoulder, or anus. Can you imagine a man having to get poked with a pin in his butthole?
Wait a minute. What? They're saying that there would be a mole in their butt?
Yes! That's where his devil's mark would be, in his anus.
Ew.
Oh, wait. For women, they were usually on the breasts or their private parts.
Of course they were.
Of course.
Any excuse to see a woman's boobs.
Yes, and suspected women were stripped publicly and shaved of body hair.
Oh, great.
To check for marks. And I'm like, it's just because these old witch finders are
Pervs.
pervs and they just
Yeah.
want to see naked women and touch their boobies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's why there weren't many men accused, because they didn't want to check men's butts.
Yeah, that's what it was. Whoa, we can fondle women's boobs?
But I don't want to be
it.
touching no man's butthole.
No.
No. Like, that's why there weren't a lot of men accused, I think, because they didn't want to be checking their bums.
Oh, my God.
The Witchfinder General in England was a man named Matthew Hopkins, and in 1968, there's a movie of the same name, and Matthew Hopkins was played by Mr. Vincent Price.
Oh, cool.
Which we need to find this movie and watch it,
Yeah.
just because we've never heard of it, so, you know. And during Matthew Hopkins's 14-month reign, in quotation marks, like when he was in charge for the 14 months, he was responsible for the executions of around 200 alleged witches in 14 months. Executed 200 people.
Oh, my God.
He was the son of a Puritan minister.
Of course
he was trained as a lawyer and practiced in Ipswich and then in Essex. And in 1647, he published a book called The Discovery of Witchcraft. And in 1645, his first victim was a one-legged hag, in quotation marks. These are his words. Her name was Elizabeth Clark, whose mother had been hanged as a witch. So she was an easy target, you know.
Right.
And she was thrown into prison and stripped and found to have 3 teats about her, which honest women have not.
Listen,
in parentheses. This
lots of people have 3 teats.
3 teats.
Harry Styles has 3 teats.
But the way they wrote it was just like, she was found to have 3 teats about her, which honest women have not. Honest women don't have 3 teats. Okay.
Oh,
it's like the dumbest thing ever. During this is all happening during the English Civil War. So a lot of these witch hunts happened around, like, things going on when there's, like, upset in the era. Civil unrest.
So they were blaming it upon that.
Yeah, there could be plague, there could be war, and it's like, we need somebody to blame. So we're going to blame these witches because we're having a drought. Witches.
Right.
We're at war. Witches. My hair fell out. Witches. Right? I fell down. I'm constipated. It's got to be witches.
Witches did it.
It's a witch's fault. Them damn women. 3 teats about her. Had to stop. I had to change my pen in the middle of that sentence because I was laughing and it stopped working. It was great. Okay. 32 people were implicated by her after she went with no sleep or food for 3 nights. This is their way around torture. So they kept her awake and didn't give her any food for 3 days. And then she started to implicate people. 29 of these people were condemned. He eventually had to hire assistants, 2 men and 2 women, because he got so busy finding witches that he needed help.
Well,
right?
when you're killing 200 people, that takes
Right.
a lot of time.
He was soon charging towns upwards of 15 to 23 pounds to rid them of witches.
Of course he was.
And if you think about it, at the time, the average monthly wage was only a 6pence, which is 2.5 pence.
And he was making what per person?
Per town. It was 15 to 23 pounds.
Wow.
Which is like 4 or 5 years' wages.
All about money and
Right.
greed.
Altogether, they made nearly 1,000 pounds between them
Bastards.
at the end of 14 months.
Assholes.
Yeah. So they targeted poor, old, feeble, and defenseless people.
Of course they did.
And then they looked for people who were unpopular that might have money, you know. Because when they would target the wealthy people, then it made the magistrates happy because they got all this extra.
Right.
Oh, we get to seize all their property.
Their
so
properties
that's good
and
for
such.
us. He was definitely in this for the money. Like, he said being a witch finder is way more lucrative than being a lawyer, so let's go find some witches. It had nothing to do with witchcraft.
And he probably didn't even really believe in it.
But, I mean, he didn't. And he went to do this, and then the more people he found in the city, it just, like, validated
Right.
why they needed him. And he'd go to another city, and he was oh, it's the famous witch finder. He's here to help
Cleanse us
of the witches so we won't have problems anymore. It's like, you're going to have more problems once he's left.
Yeah.
Really. He would use a special knife or a needle that had a retractable blade so that when he would prick people, it would move it and
so
they
it
would
wouldn't
bleed.
bleed.
Right. Oh, it looks like it's going in their skin, but they're not bleeding, so they must be a witch.
What an asshole.
We had one of those fake knives. It was
Yeah.
he basically had one of those in 1600s. This asshole. He also used the swimming method. He perfected the swimming method. He made it a spectacle. He would do it in the middle of the town. It's basically, for the people that don't know, you would take a woman and tie ropes on her on either side. You tie her hands to her feet and tie a rope on each side, and there would be a man on each side, supposedly to help her if she sank, so she wouldn't drown. You throw her into water, and if she sank, it meant she wasn't a witch. But if she floated, it meant she was a witch. And, of course, these men can hold the rope and make it so she doesn't sink. Mm-hmm. So, like a lot of women, either you drowned and...
Then, oh, look, she wasn't a witch.
Or you float and
then you get killed.
You get killed anyway, so...
Either way, you're dead.
Right. I probably would have drowned myself. Like, bye! I float, though, so I'm totally a witch. It's these... I got lots of fat, so it's very buoyant.
Boobs are real buoyant.
And my boobs in my butt. I'm a very buoyant person. He died of a long consumptive illness on 12th August 1647. So it wasn't like, we're talking, like he published this book and he died the same year.
Maybe it was witchcraft.
Maybe it was.
He got what's coming to him.
The last witch executed in England was named Alice Mallard, and she was hanged in Exeter in 1684, which is 8 years before the witch hunt in Salem.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, so that was the last one in England.
So then it spread to
that was killed
colonies.
by England, basically.
Right.
So, at the end of all of this, after the last witch, there was probably about 1,000 people who died in England. They were hanged or tortured.
That's crazy.
They were hanged mostly. Some of them died in prison of probably sickness and starvation. But yeah, burning at the stake was for treason in England.
Okay.
And in the colonies. So you only burn them at the stake if they were treasonous against the government.
Okay.
Right. But on the continent, which was Europe, and Scotland, more than 100,000 witches would burn.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like they averaged probably about, between all of the countries, that's about how many women or people were burned at the stake. Most of them alive. At first they would strangle them and then burn them, but there were times when one of the most prominent men, executioners, strangled her, but she didn't die, and she woke up while she was being burned alive. And they're like, that's horrible. It's way better for her soul if she's alive when she's being burned. What?
Great.
How nice. You're totally going to heaven, dude.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It's just like some sicko pervert.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
Women screaming in pain and agony.
So now we're going to the Inquisition in Europe. This isn't the Spanish one. This is just the European, like the Inquisition in like France and whatnot. And this started the 5th of December of 1484. Pope Innocent the Eighth, VIII is 8. Yep. He started this Inquisition against the witches, and it should be noted that Pope Innocent the Eighth was not very innocent. He had kept a mistress and fathered 2 children with her.
Ew.
And at the end of his life, he was kept alive by suckling milk from the breast of a woman. The woman's breast, and with blood transfusions, and these blood transfusions that he had resulted in the death of 3 boys.
What a disgusting, horrible human.
Yes.
And he's the Pope. Great.
Yes, it was very corrupt back then.
Very, very corrupt.
Things were very corrupt. Yeah. Most people that wanted to be the Pope for power. It had nothing to do with God.
No.
It was all about, they were more powerful than the king. Mm-hmm. They were the head of all of the kings.
Yeah.
So, he authorized 2 Dominican monks. They were named Jacob Sprenger and Heinrich Kramer, and I believe they were German.
They sound German.
To stamp out witchcraft. And together they wrote the Malleus Maleficarum, which means the Hammer of Witches, in 1486. That's like the book that they used against women to determine Like, it was the horrible book. And it's funny, we were in Ithaca at the Cornell University, and they had, like, a witch display in their library, and they had all these old books, and they might have had a copy of that.
Oh, wow.